This is the plaintiff, Eileen Shaw. She says the defendant, her stepdaughter, called her husband crying because she needed to borrow money, and she needed it fast or she was going to be homeless. Unfortunately, the defendant's not paying her back, and the only way she's going to recover the amount of the loans is by suing her here and now for the $233 she's owed. This is the defendant, Tiffany Shaw. She says she asked her father for the money, and unbeknownst to her, the plaintiff was the one who sent it. In fact, she's never even met the plaintiff before today. Besides, she asked her father to borrow the money, and if he borrowed it from his wife, how's that her problem? She's accused of being a bad stepdaughter. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $500 for harassment and fraud.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says her stepdaughter cried so hard that she loaned her money and she shouldn't have done it. But the defendant says she asked her father to borrow the money, not her stepmom. So shut up, stepmom. It's the case of Miss Step.
Thank you, Douglas. Eileen Shaw.
Yes.
You are suing Tiffany Shaw, your stepdaughter. Have you ever met?
Never.
So this is it. You're meeting each other for the first time now. Did you check each other out? I know you're dying to look at each other. Wow. For $233, $210 of it a loan that you made to her and $23 in MoneyGram fees to get her the money to your stepdaughter, whom you have never met. Is your husband, AKA your father, in this room?
No.
Oh, look at that. What a weasel. Why isn't he here?
The job wouldn't give him the day off to come here.
Really? It's not because he doesn't want to be in between you two? Because I kind of think that's probably more like it.
No, he's definitely on the job today.
Okay. So what happened?
On September the 17th, my husband got a call from his daughter saying that she needed some money to pay for the hotel that she was staying in.
How long have you been married?
4 years.
Okay. Why had you never met his daughter? They don't have a good relationship?
They don't have too good of a relationship. They're just getting to talk to one another. But she was invited.
I'll be 30 this year.
Okay.
She was invited to the wedding and declined.
Okay.
So, you know.
Did he have a rocky breakup with her mother?
I have no idea.
What did you raise your hand to say right now?
I was never invited to that wedding.
You weren't invited?
I didn't even know they were getting married until 30 days before.
Okay. But how did you find out 30 days before?
My aunt told me.
And you say you weren't invited?
Nope.
And you say you sent an invitation?
I believe that's the same aunt that they told to come to the wedding and stand there and just say, no, don't marry her.
Oh. But did you send his daughter an invitation? I was just curious.
So I believe they knew.
Okay, but did you send his daughter an invitation?
I didn't have the daughter's address because they were moving.
You didn't invite her. Why are you saying that she was invited?
Because he talked to her.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So
just
you
going,
think he invited her verbally?
Right, verbally.
Right. Well, we're past the wedding. And so all those years later, you also don't meet.
She has a problem with me.
With you?
Yes.
Why does she have a problem with you?
I have no idea.
Well, I know there's a problem now, but before that, you felt she had a problem?
Yeah, she did. She would say things to him, like, you know, call me names and so forth. And, you know, I just shy away from that.
Did she feel like you took the man away from her mother?
I have no idea.
How long have you been broken up with your mother?
My father and my mother divorced almost 20 years ago.
Okay, so that's not it.
No.
So, all right, you were going through a tough time financially, so you decided to call your father for help. What were you going through financially? What had happened?
I live in Florida with my mother. We have always been a tight team. I worked, my mom worked. My mom lost her job of 16 years, and I was the only sole provider of our household at the time. Of course, things got tough, and we moved into a hotel. I had friends who were really supporting us at the time. When I couldn't make it, I'd borrow from them, and they were more than happy to help knowing the situation. At the time that I hit this bump, they weren't able to help. So he was really a last-ditch effort. I really didn't expect him to come through for me, but he told me, I don't have it, but I have a friend who does. And I said, okay. He said, we'll get it to you in the morning. At that point in the morning, when I went to go get the money, was when I realized his friend was his wife.
Okay, but what was the arrangement that you had with them about when you would pay it back?
There was no arrangement at that point. We discussed it, and when I got the money, he said, what can you do in terms of paying this back? I said, I can't make any promises at this point. Our situation is so tight. I make just enough to cover the expenses here. But when we get on our feet, I'll see what I can do. But you're my dad. This isn't an issue, is it? And he said no. I thought it was dead. If I didn't.
So what was your plan then? You were going to pay back when?
I told my dad once I got on my feet.
Yeah, but when were you going to get on your feet? When was your mother going to get a job? When were you going to get a second job? Like how were you planning on doing this? Are you saying that it was always from its very inception open-ended and you never?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
So you don't deny that it's a loan. What you're saying is that now 4 months later you still shouldn't have to pay it back because it's whenever you can. And whenever you can hasn't happened. It's a very elastic term that's kind of, I mean, have you paid back $5 a week, $10 a week? Absolutely nothing.
I explained to my dad.
Because it got kind of testy then between you and Mrs. Shaw, didn't it?
Right. I explained to my dad. But again, I didn't even understand how Mrs. Shaw came in. So I said, you know.
Well, you know how Mrs. Shaw came in it because your dad didn't have it. He went to Mrs. Shaw for it. And you know that because you picked it up. And because I see the email traffic between you and your dad on Facebook, where the Facebook traffic and the email traffic, where everybody starts playing Canis Mas Macha. Mrs. Shaw or Little Shaw or Big Shaw. That's what starts happening all of a sudden. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Okay, the first email's from your dad to you. I don't know what happened, but can you please give me a call on my phone tomorrow? I don't want to argue with your mother. Can you please call my phone tomorrow? You must have done that. At some point, you're answering him about a week later saying, what does SMH stand for?
Shaking my head.
Shaking my head. I can't wow. Isn't it easier to just say no? I can't promise that, and I won't. My opinion is and is really starting to work my last nerve. From my vantage point, she has harassed me, my mother, and now in some stupid attempt to what? Get even? She is holding your clothes hostage? What was that about?
My father explained to me that she had put him out and was holding her clothes hostage, and he was sleeping on his friend's couch because of it.
Yeah, I'm making no promises to you or anyone else not to tell her exactly what I think about her. As for the money, my position as of right now is she'll get it when I get it. Her antics and shenanigans ain't moving me one bit. For her to take it out on you, her husband, makes no sense. Because you're not the one that owe her blank. She's a blanking juvenile, and I'll be damned if I worry myself over her. So seriously, she is truly insignificant in comparison to what I'm feeling. You can have her call me if you want, but if she doesn't want to argue, I suggest you don't. I'm your daughter, and I get a lot of my traits from you, and she has crossed the line too many damn times. I have a lot of blank she did ride, but I'm not about to be bullied. Now, and then in capital letters. Now, I said I would get it back to her as soon as I could. I'm not in a position to do that yet. I'm not going to starve or lose a roof over my head so she can chill the blank out. When I get it, she'll get it. Until then, she's not blanking dying. At some point later on in December, you say to her, I'd like to know if you plan on paying me back the money that you owe me. I'll be willing to accept half now and half in 2 weeks tops. And then you say in response, I'm glad you finally took it upon yourself to speak to me directly, as I've been advising from the start. When it comes to repayment, I was always very clear. I was never sure when that would be possible. I'm in no position to repay large or small quantities of money. When I'm able, you'll get your money back. But putting arbitrary time limits on me is not going to help your cause. Wow. Why it took you so long to call me is beyond me. What? Does it occur to you that maybe you should call her and in an act
I don't even know how to contact her.
Yeah, you do. Why don't you ask your dad for her number? And then you call her and then you say, I'm so grateful that you loaned me the money. Here's my situation. I can pay you. Is it all right if I pay you $50 a month between now? Something like that part doesn't occur to you at all. I mean, you owe the money. According to you, she was supposed to pay it back when?
That Friday.
And how do you know that she said that?
Because I was standing there when her father and her were having a conversation, and he had the phone on speaker.
Okay. And she said, I'll get money this Friday.
Says,
how?
I get paid Friday. I can reimburse you for all the monies and the fees.
Okay.
Friday came and went. Friday morning, we tried to call her phone. We got a recording that says, the person is not accepting calls at this time. My husband started talking to her on Facebook, and she started talking back. He asked her on Facebook about the money, and that's when I became all these bad people and so forth. And I waited. And, he said that she's having a hard time, and I waited. But when you're on Facebook talking about you got a new job, you got a promotion on your job, you got a raise on your job, how about you giving me back some of the money you borrowed from me? So December the 3rd, I sent her a message asking her, when was I going to get the money back? The fact that she's still sending me around the world about she doesn't know when I'm going to get it back. December the 5th, I went to court and filled out a summons.
Okay, now, but tell me what happened with this little Facebook staging thing that you described.
Yeah, we wanted to find the address to where she was. We knew she didn't like me. So once she saw that my husband took off his status from married to single, who liked it?
Who liked it?
The daughter.
That means she posted like.
Oh, yeah.
Who else liked it? Other people like it?
The other people were staged.
Okay. So you staged. And the purpose of you staging this separation between you and your husband was to what?
Find out where she was living.
So what happened? How did you find out? In order to serve her with the lawsuit.
Right. He started talking, they were talking back and forth, about things going on and stuff. And he gained her trust. She thought she was getting a $50,000 life insurance policy, and she gave up the address, and I served her the papers.
Wow.
And all of that is because the cell phone, the phone number that I had for her was not working.
That's not true.
You said it was true in your answer to the complaint.
No, I said that she lied and they proved fraud. I didn't know how much the life insurance policy was, and I really was hesitant to begin with.
Right, but you gave your address.
My dad asked me like 4 times, and I said, okay,
so
fine,
you gave your address,
yes.
And then you feel that it's a fraud that someone found you to sue you for money you owe?
No, I feel it's a fraud because if that was what you wanted,
then
you don't have the right. You don't have the right to lie to me and perpetrate that you are my father. It wasn't my father. I felt that was never my father. I was speaking to her the entire time. And she fraudulently portrayed herself. She fraudulently got me to send documents that are pertinent. My birth certificate, my social security card. She fraudulently obtained.
She fraudulently found out where you live so she could serve you?
She fraudulently obtained my personal documents.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have her personal documents?
No.
Who has them?
I believe her dad does. And all it was is he just gave me one thing. He just gave me this, which has her name and address on it.
No, but you never saw like a birth certificate or this other stuff that she says that the father.
She said a social security card. I never seen none of that.
Were you was the dad on Facebook or were you on Facebook?
The dad, because she's not on my Facebook page. She deleted me.
So if a husband loans money to somebody and the person he loans it to doesn't pay the money, can the wife sue to enforce the debt?
Yes, they are married, so she should have that right.
What do you think?
Gosh, well, I mean, if it was his earned wages and he was the one loaning them to somebody, then...
Well, but what about the thing, what's mine is mine, what's yours is mine?
I still think it's the husband's responsibility to sue.
Really?
Yes.
So the wife just sits there and cooks barefoot in the kitchen. Got your point. Going inside the courtroom.
All right. As for the $500 counterclaim for harassment and fraud, I find against you and for her. As for the loan, I have no choice. I find for her and against you. I think that in 5 months, there could have been some effort to repay this loan. And I think that the reason why it hasn't been repaid is pure personality and bad feelings and hatred of her, which is obvious from every email that I read out loud. I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of the $233. That's my verdict.
Thank you.
And so the defendant comes out first. What was this like to be in court with your stepmom on the other side like that?
It was what it was.
Is that the first time you've seen her?
Yes.
Well, come on. That's in how long? And how long has she been with your dad?
I'm not really sure. I think maybe 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. And how is it that this is the first time you've seen her? How is that?
My father would be the one to better answer that.
I see. Would you like a better relationship with your dad?
Of course.
You going to try to make that happen? What needs to take place for that to happen?
At this point, I don't think that's my job. It's his.
All right. Good luck. All right. Head right down this way. All right. So come on in here and tell me how you feel about being in this situation.
Wonderful. I'm glad it's over.
Mm-hmm. You really had? Could you have forgiven 233?
I tried.
Could you have just let it slide and not sued her for that money?
You can see the attitude. The attitude speaks for itself.
You describe it. What is it?
Terrible. Disrespectful.
What's the problem between her dad?
I married her dad.
Yeah, what's the problem between those two? Can it be resolved?
Of course it can.
Does he want it
He
resolved?
wants a relationship with his daughter, definitely. But she, blocks him all the time. She curses him out, disrespects him.
Okay.
Very rude.
Okay, Harvey.
You know what? It's good the plaintiff sued in this case. Even though it's a small amount, it makes a statement. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.